I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities of Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. We just can't go a couple reviews without reviewing something that is just overly indie. So, we're going to review Bombay Bicycle Club's So Long, See You Tomorrow. This is their fourth record. This is an English-based indie band. I would classify this as more of the indie, kind of like a progressive indie pop is how I would classify this in the genre scheme you guys know I don't buy into, I don't like.
Very electronic based, very beat oriented.
Yeah, but still with a lot of like a lot of nice like it's real drums a lot of the times, you know, very spastic, a lot of guitars, a lot of even piano, and really I think that a lot of the melody that you hear here comes out of the vocals. I think that the vocalist plays a lot of just a big role in the mix. Tom, as far as the sound of So Long, See You Tomorrow, what was your take on it? You analyzed the crap out of it.
There were a lot of artists that this reminded me of.
Yes, what are a few?
I would say Mike Snow, which we reviewed their album Happy to You a couple years back when that came out.
A while ago.
It was. Mew, especially in the vocals. Now Mew is more of kind of a rock band, but then also like Passion Pit.
Yeah.
Some stuff that you even hear, like, I mean, Passion Pit is even broken into the mainstream now, so this kind of sound is pretty popular.
I really got Jonsi's album Go for a couple years ago. You know, Jonsi's lead singer, Sigur Ros. Especially in the vocals. But and also a lot of like the electronic electronic things that they would do.
The flutters.
Yeah, the little flutters, flourishes that they add to every track that gives it this kind of whimsical feel. It's very upbeat, uplifting. What about like the song structures? What'd you pick up there? Was there a lot of like verse chorus?
Honestly, sometimes, but I feel like they didn't rely on it too much.
No, I definitely found that like my favorite tracks on this record were definitely the builder tracks, like Eyes Off You.
Eyes Off You is a great one.
That track just explodes. Track 10, the closer, the self-titled closer, at the very end just kind of builds, and I thought it was a great way to end it. I noticed you actually picked that up.
Yeah, I picked both of those as track picks as well because, you know, I like that. I like songs that shift in the middle that sound like more than just one song within a track, and they definitely strive to do that. I mean, also just for the standpoint of being unpredictable. Eyes Off You is a great example because it starts out as kind of a ballad, and you don't expect it to go anywhere from there. You expect maybe for it to be a few-minute long ballad, and it would have been fine as that. But they seamlessly build it into this drum crescendo that then it just kind of busts out of nowhere. And I think that's really cool. Any time with as much music as I've listened to at this point in my life, and I'll keep listening to more, anything that can really surprise me like that, I put a lot of value in. And I feel like they did that, I wouldn't say a lot here, but sometimes just in those key moments it was enough. And more than anything, on a lot of these tracks I just found that they were very memorable. It didn't come off that way quite at first. At first I was like, you know, this just feels kind of like cookie cutter, electronic based indie pop. There's a lot of that out there right now. Like I said, the general aesthetic is even popular in the mainstream now, but I feel like they were doing some songwriting things, little tricks, great melodies that just put this on an upper notch in that spectrum, I would say.
There's also a number of bass lines that I really like throughout this record. Overall, like the instrumentation was one of the few things that I did actually find myself really getting into in this album, and to me that's where a lot of like the jewels of listening to this Bombay Bicycle Club record were, because I gotta say, while Eyes Off You is clearly my favorite track on this record, I you know, thinking about the album perspective, which I highly value, I kind of felt like this needed more ballads in it. There were too many, like, all these songs are so optimistic, jovial, upbeat, and they kind of all just have this crescendo to them. It has this just, you know, like each song reaches a moment of intensity that is just euphoric and everything's happy. It's like the end of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
It's like an entire Go Team album.
Yeah, it's the Go Team. That's a really good approach. And the thing is that if you don't add that variety in there, then it's really a lot harder, I think, for the listener to emotionally connect to the record. And there were times here where I was just like, okay, this is cool, but I'm done with it. Like, and overall, this record had an effect on me that caused me to just, you know, I noticed that I could put this on, listen to it, and enjoy it, and then pick out certain things that I like. But by the end, I was just not. And I think that maybe this comes from all the songs maybe using similar ideas over and over. And I just didn't come away thinking there is just a lot that I like or remember about this album.
It's a good point, and it's kind of an odd case because I feel like these guys are actually smarter and better songwriters than the way they present them.
I agree with that.
And it's not that they're bad at presenting these songs, it's just that when I listen to the melodies, when I listen to the song structures, the way they're actually composing this and putting all of the pieces of each track together, I feel like there's a lot of attention to detail, but somehow it still turns out to be less than the sum of its parts and less than the thought that's put into it.
Yeah, and I know one thing that we've discussed before is, at least with me, I definitely connect a lot with the vocalists. And while the vocals here, they're by no means bad, it's just they're very delicate. It's very, it's falsetto based. There's not a lot of, it's technically good singing, good tone, presentation and everything, but at the end of the day, there's nothing there that makes this bold emotional statement that brings you in, that makes you connect with it. That, coupled with having every track kind of use the same ideas and sound very similar, I kind of just lost, the will to care. I didn't have that statement of warrant about this record. Overall, I think the songwriting is quite good and the instrumentation is quite good, so I found this to be very enjoyable, and one that, I could put on at any point in time and come back to and like, but not one that I'm ever going to fall in love with.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I like this one a little bit more than you. I know that there are several tracks on this album that I'm going to be coming back to all year. This was an album that stuck with me, and a lot of the songs got stuck in my head. I always looked forward to listening to it.
Absolutely. Tracks like the opener, Overdone, we both picked that track 3, Carry Me, was particularly good. I actually loved track 6, Luna, even though it was a little short. I felt like that song could have developed more and do stuff, but just the initial sound, the sound that these guys present on this record is just something that you can fall in love with very easily. But overall, making memorable statements about their songs and the album as a whole just left, for me, a little something to be desired. I'm going 78.
I'm going even 80.
Okay, so that brings this to a 79 from Velocities in Music, which is just a hair under the albums that we would really like to recommend to you guys. Although we would say that this is recommended. Go out, listen to it. Let us know your thoughts about So Long, See You Tomorrow at www.velocitiesinmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesinmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and let us know what albums you want to see Tom and I review on this channel. You guys are what drives this channel. I am Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.